Today, we are talking about cutting edge technology and how it applies to stepmoms.
I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step-family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this.
Welcome. I am so excited about today's episode. We are talking about something that I have been wanting to talk about for a while, and it's something that I think impacts all of our lives, and as stepmoms can be really useful in all of our lives, and that is AI. And today's guest, Sarah Dooley, we have a great conversation here on the podcast, and then I have also brought her over on the YouTube channel, which I'll link to in the show notes, but we are talking specifically about AI use for coaches and step-family coaches. So if you are a coach or a step-family coach, listen to this episode and then head over to YouTube and listen to my conversation with Sarah there, and I will link to it in the show notes. But for now, let me tell you a little bit about Sarah Dooley because she's really cool. She is founder of the AI Empowered Mom, which is a platform helping parents and caregivers lighten the mental load of modern life using practical, safe, and approachable AI tools. And she's got a background in corporate leadership at Visa and EY. She brings deep expertise in technology strategy and a passion for making all of these tools available for real families. She is also the author of the forthcoming book, The AI Empowered Family, just coming out in 2027 from Wiley. And she is host of the AI Empowered Mom podcast, which you may have heard me on. As a mom of 3 daughters, Sarah is on a mission to help women, including stepmoms, and blended families reclaim their time, reduce stress, and feel confident exploring AI. So we have a great discussion in store for you today. So let's get to it. Sarah, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Cameron, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, me too. And, I mentioned in your intro that we were introduced by a mutual friend, Gay Gaddis, who has also been on the podcast, but a couple of years ago, but who's also a stepmom. So, but she's one of our favorites. And I so appreciate her introducing us because we have all these things in common.
Me too.
Yeah.
And she's so wonderful. Shout out and all the love to Gay.
I know. We love Gay Gaddis. So let's get into this because I think what we're going to talk about today is so interesting for stepmoms and really for all moms too, which is what you do. So tell me a little bit. Most of the time when I have people on, I ask them their stepmom origin story. You are not a stepmom, but you have an origin story. So tell me that and how you got to where you are and how you started AI Empowered Mom.
Sure. I don't have a stepmom origin story. I have an AI mom story. My background is in technology. I worked in technology consulting for almost 2 decades. And, I thought I had things pretty well figured out. And then I had one baby. And right after that, I had 2 more, 3 under 18 months. And wow, it was a shock to the system and the household. I needed to automate as much as I could. I was, working full time, looking after these babies. And just by chance and luck, I turned into a more AI-driven pathway. I started doing more and more AI-driven projects. And after ChatGPT became generally available in November of 2022, I went into a dedicated AI role helping employees become more productive using AI, all the while using AI in my home life all the time, in all different ways, from meal planning to role playing to planning conversations to doing research for me. AI is a big factor in my household. And I had a couple of aha moments when I was working professionally full time in a corporate role helping people use AI. One was that AI can really help at home and not everyone knew that. Two is that AI tools, especially generative AI tools, are trained by those who use them. They learn from us as we're using them and become better based on the use cases and the feedback that they receive. And when it dawned on me that if parents and caregivers who give their time to others aren't using AI, they miss out on a chance first to save time in their own lives, but also that these tools wouldn't be trained by them and for them. And parents and caregivers without AI risked getting left behind. And once that dawned on me, I couldn't stop thinking of it. So by day, I was working on employee productivity at Visa. And in the evenings, I started teaching AI classes to moms and stepmoms and all types of parents and caregivers in my living room, which grew into corporate speaking and a newsletter and a podcast. And I ultimately left my full-time job to focus on my passion and what I believe is my purpose, helping families safely and responsibly adopt AI to reduce their mental load, make their lives a little easier. And now, even all the little things that I do for AI to run my crazy household, I try and spread the word and help other families do the same in ways that work for them.
Love that. And I think you're just really onto something because there is so much potential for AI. I know that it scares a lot of people, and it's funny because I've had this conversation with my husband. And he's like, "Do I really need to learn this AI stuff?" And I'm like, "You do need to learn it." But it is a little scary, and I think you kind of have these scenarios that like it's going to get away from us, and all of the kind of doomsday scenarios. What do you say to moms who are nervous about using it or feel intimidated by a learning curve or, overwhelmed? I mean, because there are a bunch of different AI tools, right? Like there's Gemini, there's ChatGPT, there's Claude, there are all these different things. Like, what do you say to somebody about their big fears around AI and to how they get started with it? Those are both big questions, but
these are big, important questions. First, I say, I get it. It's overwhelming. Just one more thing to learn for parents and caregivers who are already stretched thin, looking after themselves and all the folks that they care for. Learning one more thing, especially something this big, can feel overwhelming. And I totally get it. I hear it all the time. And also, because we're hearing AI so much, now some people haven't even tried AI and they're already sick of it. So it's hard to learn something new when you're already over it. But what I say to parents is that it's becoming more and more important, not just so that we can save our own time and so that we don't get left behind in this new AI age, but because our kids and stepkids are using AI already. There's a great report that was released at the end of 2025, conducted by Aura, which is a protective technology company for kids, studied 3,000 families, thousands and thousands of interactions with technology. And that data, which I think the report is very good, showed that 72% of kids rather, between the ages of 5 and 17 are already using AI.
Wow.
42% of them are using them for companionship. And when I read that, it stopped me in my tracks because if kids are using these tools for companionship, for friendship, for romance, or beyond before their brains are fully developed, the risks are great. And that's why as parents, we have to opt in. We have to learn a bit about these tools so that we can have open conversations, so that we can set appropriate boundaries. And it can feel overwhelming to learn something new. I totally get that. But there's an opportunity here to create this virtuous cycle where if we'll dip our toes into AI and start increasing our own AI literacy, it can help us save a little bit of time and make our lives a little bit easier and enable us to have these conversations with our kids to keep them safer. So I think we can't bury our heads in the sand when we think about our families and the people that we love. We have to give it a try. So the way that I tell parents to get started is think about something you don't like to do. What is the thing that you're dreading? What is the thing that you don't want to deal with? And give that to AI. I don't like dinner. I'm over dinner. That is my least favorite meal, yet here it comes every single day. So I've set up all kind of AI systems and automated systems to help me make dinner a little bit easier.
So much.
The other thing that I hate is reminding. I do not like being the chief reminder in my family before people leave, whether it's trash day or library day, or, I found myself reminding my partner, my kids, all kind of things. And I don't want that role. I want them to develop agency on their own. Maybe other parents don't do this, but I really got locked into a reminding journey. And now I've delegated all of that to Alexa by setting up simple routines. If you use a voice assistant in your home, you can set up the voice assistant to set all of the reminders, do all of the reminders that you want. So those are just two, like thinking about things that I don't like, meal planning and dinner specifically, and reminding. I love handing those off to AI.
I love that. And I actually want to go back to something that you said just a minute ago because, you talked about kids having AI companions. And I actually had a couple that I was coaching a little bit ago, and one of their kids had gotten into using AI for various different, not necessarily one single companion, but for different like scenarios that were very troubling. You're right. It is a huge issue. And actually, I'm getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling. And one of the things that we've talked about in our classes is that we all need to be prepared to see clients who are coming in with AI relationships.
Right. That's
Which
right.
is something that like even 5 years ago, I would have been like, what? So, I mean, I don't know if I even really have a question around it other than like, as parents, how do we educate our kids about this? How do we talk to them about it? How do we work with them if we discover that they've got an AI companion or that they're diving into some, kind of seedy stuff with AI? Like it is, and I think you're right. Like it's happening.
That's right. It's happening, and it's happening faster and earlier than we think. This is not the future. This is today. That same Aura report looked at all those interactions with technology and noted that violence enters the conversation between kids and AI around age 11.
Oh
And
my
romance
gosh.
and sexual themes enter the conversation around age of 13, which I'm sure correlates with puberty, although that's my own assumption,
No, I
not
think that's
written in the
right. Yeah.
report. I mean, so the thing is, we got to get out there before our kids and stepkids are 11 years old and have these conversations about what AI is and is not, what it's good for and where it's dangerous, that it's not our friend, it's not a human, it's not real, that it's a thinking computer system trained on huge amounts of data. And it can do a lot for us, but it can never replace human connection. And I think we also have to model that good behavior for our kids. So often as parents and step parents, I think the answer is we have to do the hard thing. So,
Yeah.
and I think
Absolutely. And I think, one of the challenges too is I think kids, and bless them, their little brains aren't developed until they're in their mid-20s. So they can't think rationally or like an adult with all this stuff. But I think they look at it as, yeah, I get that it's not real. That's why it's not harmful. So I'm just going to do it. And they don't see that the connection between the harm that can come up and so it's hard as parents, I think, to identify that for kids and to show them why it is harmful when
that's
it
right.
doesn't seem harmful to them,
It seems innocuous, but it's a slippery slope. And the other
Right.
thing that I want to mention is just, it's not having these conversations with our kids and stepkids is not the only one that we need to talk to, because talking to our adults are having relationships with AI as well. So my partner and I actually recently sat down and defined, of course, I proposed this to him. Would you consider an AI relationship cheating? Can we have an AI relationship in our marriage? And at first he said, no, first he said, you're a nut, but next he said, no. And then he gave it some thought and thought about and I think he read up a little bit and see that people are sharing so much with AI and decided he didn't want me sharing my deepest, darkest, hopes and dreams and whatever else. So now we've decided, no, there will be no AI third parties in our relationship, but it's a conversation to have with your partner, not just your kids.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing that I'm certainly seeing in the coaching world, and I think that therapists are seeing as well, is people are going into AI and trying to use that instead of therapy or instead of finding a good coach. Talk to me a little bit about that because, obviously AI is one, and we're going to talk more about some of the wonderful things that AI can do, but it's not meant to be a replacement for like an actual human relationship with a coach or a therapist, right?
That's right. AI is not your coach and it is not your therapist. It lacks context about your human life. It's not trained for these specific use cases. In Harvard Business Review published at the beginning of 2025 on data looking back, previous data, therapeutic and coaching use cases were the number one use of generative AI. I could not believe that. Just the same thing that we were mentioning about with kids, it's a slippery slope. So we have to be thoughtful about the boundaries that we set and what we will share with AI. The other thing is that AI is not private. What we share with with AI can be subpoenaed if we were involved in court. It's not like you're talking to a doctor or you're talking to a lawyer where you have assurances of privacy. Anything you share with AI should not be considered to be private. So the things that you would talk with a therapist and coach, would you put them in a Google search? Would you want them to be able to be searchable or to train an AI chatbot? Likely not. So thinking about those kinds of
That is a
consequences and long-term
hugely important point
implications.
that I guarantee people aren't thinking about because it's so easy. I mean, it's not really an analogy, but I'm thinking about the keyboard pirates who go online and post nasty comments and stuff because they're like behind the safety of their keyboard. And it feels very much that way when I get on ChatGPT and I have conversations and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this copy? Should I change this? Should I look at that? And I never use it to do stuff for me, but I'll have it review stuff. And it does feel like when you're chatting with it, you're in this little kind of safe little space, but you really do have to be intentional about reminding yourself that you're not.
We're not. And just in the same way that email is forever and what we put into a Google search is used to inform the algorithm and serve us ads, none of this is private. So my rule of thumb is if I wouldn't put it in a Google search, I don't put it into a chatbot. Now you can use temporary chat that's not stored to memory. You can turn off the settings so that your chats aren't used to train the model. You can do these little things to give a little bit more privacy and security to your personal data. And I think for families and stepfamilies, that's really important. But we still should not be deluded and think that what we are sharing with AI is private because it isn't.
Yeah. I think we can easily fool ourselves into revealing a lot of stuff that maybe we don't necessarily want to. It's like the old saying my grandmother used to say, if you don't want to, this is going to date me. I'm a Gen Xer. If you don't want it on the front page of the New York Times, don't put it in writing. So talk to me a little bit. Let's get back to some of the positive uses around AI, because that's really what you specialize in and why you're here, because there is so much that I think we don't know about how we can be using this stuff. There's a huge amount of emotional labor and invisible labor that women and moms deal with. And for stepmoms, that can be magnified sometimes. What are ways that AI can help with some of that stuff?
I love that
we're
you
dealing
said that
with?
it can be magnified for stepmoms. And I truly believe that. And the way that I look at and a lot of the research around invisible labor breaks it up into 3 categories. There's like the anticipatory labor, all the work that we do in our minds to think about what's coming up, whether it's seasons changing or routines changing or health that we need to preventative care, all the things that we need to think about to track for the people that we care for and ourselves. The anticipatory labor is usually the trigger for a mental load task. Next is the cognitive labor, actually the thinking, the deciding, finding the options, weighing them and making a decision. AI is great for that at helping you identify options, look at pros and cons, make comparisons. But then there's the emotional labor that goes with this, like executing. When it comes to families, sometimes can be so layered and complex from an emotional standpoint. And I truly believe that for stepmoms, extra layers of emotional
Absolutely.
labor here. So 2 of the ways that I think AI and generative AI, like chatbots like ChatGPT and Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, are excellent at helping with emotional labor are role playing and interviewing. I mentioned role playing before, but before I'm going to have a difficult conversation or something that I think might be tricky, I often go to AI and ask to role play. Like I'm going to say, and I use voice mode for this, say what here's what I'm thinking about saying for whatever topic, for a new boundary we're setting about video games, or for some bad news about something that's changing in the household, or even our sweet neighbor's cat died. I needed to share that information with my kiddos who are 6 and 8, and to go into AI into voice mode, role play, and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking of saying. How will this be received by someone who is 8 years old or 6 years old? And then get a little bit of a tweak or some criticism on the way that I'm talking about things has been so helpful to me. And then also with emotional labor, sometimes it's not clear to me exactly all of the layers or maybe what's underneath what I'm working on. So I often ask AI to interview me. And I think this is different than therapeutic or coaching because I'm still doing the work. It's not AI telling me how to resolve something. But if I'm struggling or I'm stuck in some pattern, then asking AI, why is this so hard? Why are mornings so hard? Or what are we struggling with right now? Interview me about this so that I can kind of uncover what is going on here. With emotional labor, I find that to be incredibly helpful. So those are just 2 like little private things that I do to help me with the emotional load that hopefully could be helpful to other stepmoms out there.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. What's a surprising way that you have seen caregivers or parents using AI, like something that we wouldn't necessarily think about?
Okay, I'm going to tell you one from yesterday from my own AI empowered parents. And this was just like the most wonderful moment yesterday. Okay, it's what the dark side of things is my parents are in their 70s and elder fraud is on the rise. AI is
Huge.
increasing all of the fraud and that our elders are falling victim to. I looked it up and it looked like in 2004, it was almost $5 billion lost by people over 60, which is just devastating. So one thing I've talked to my parents about is using AI as a scam or a fraud detector. And
Love that.
if they get a suspicious text or a suspicious email, not clicking, but capturing a screenshot, whether it's on your phone, hit those two buttons and grab a screenshot or grab a screenshot on your laptop and then pop that into a generative AI tool like ChatGPT or Gemini and just ask, is this a scam? You can give a little bit of context. Show me the pros and cons or what makes this look like a scam or what would make it look not, and always asking AI to show both sides. I don't really want to trust AI to make this decision for me, but to give me, here are the reasons why it might be and here are the reasons why it might not. And why this is top of mind is yesterday, my parents were taking a spur of the moment trip and they went to book a rental car and got off on, it's a last minute trip. There wasn't a lot of availability. They got off on some path and then rented from something called Red's Rentals. And then they'd never heard of Red's Rentals. How did they get there? My dad wasn't sure. He grabbed that screenshot. He put it into ChatGPT and asked, is this a scam? Chatbot searched the internet for him, provided some information on the rental company and then the pros and cons of like renting from an off book versus renting from a major company. He was able to get step-by-step instructions to reverse the charge and then go back and get his. And I don't know that he was going to be scammed. I'm sure Red's Rentals is a great company, but it's not the right fit for my sweet parents who are headed out on this trip. So the surprising use case that I hope everybody thinks about and talks to their parents about is using AI to help identify fraud and scams. Just one more tool in our arsenal to protect ourselves.
That's great. Did you have to kind of talk your parents through how to use ChatGPT? If my parents are in their 80s and they're both like tech savvy enough. My mom's real tech savvy. My dad, not quite as much, but they both are familiar with searching for stuff and doing all the things. Did you have to do any education there or were you just like, hey, pull this up, plug it in? And was it easy enough for them to do?
In the same way that I talk to my kids about using AI, what AI is and is not, I talk to my parents in that same way. And make suggestions to them on what tools they might consider, like why they might prefer ChatGPT. It's the most widely available versus Claude, which is focused on responsible and constitutional AI. So we have these conversations. It came up even around the Thanksgiving table when a lot of my family was in town. Everyone was sharing different ways they were using AI and different AI fails that had come up. So we talk about this a lot because, I'm seeing the elder abuse elder fraud like we talked about. And just the amount of time that they have to spend on technology, they're using technology, spending a lot of time online. So I really want them to be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and not to go too far down this tangent, but I saw recently that ChatGPT is going to start taking ads. How do you think that's going to impact like how it works with consumers? Are we going to have to be careful about the results we get from them and wonder like if they're economically motivated, or do we think that it's still going to be like, what is that going to look like?
I do think this is a really important data point to consider in our tool set. And it's not that different from a Google search.
Right. It's just like Google. They take a ton of ads. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And they prioritize what the order of things that we receive. So, in the same way that search is not a public service, it's a commercial entity. It is a company meant to make money. OpenAI, ChatGPT, all of these companies are doing this to make money too. So it's important, I think, for us to follow the money and think about does that matter to us? Aligning the tech tools that we use with our values is a big question. And maybe it matters to you and maybe it doesn't. If there is a silver lining here, including the ads will make it possible for ChatGPT to be available for free to more people. And I do want AI tools to be available to anyone who's able to use them safely and responsibly. So that's a silver lining to me that people could use it for free if they, because $20 a month for these services is a lot. But we will have to keep thinking about what's the financial motivation behind the results that we're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. So what AI tools are in your daily toolbox?
Okay. Look, I use all the tools and and I'm paid by none of them. But I have really in this year in 2026, I really have made a big transition from ChatGPT to Claude. I have built a number of projects. I use a lot of automated workflows. I use some of Claude's more technical tools. And before I was doing that in ChatGPT, and because little eyes are watching, because I use AI with my kids, in front of my kids, I talk to them about it. I moved over to Claude because it's better aligned with my values personally and our family values. But I also use a lot of AI tools just for fun. Like I love Suno AI, which is a music generation tool. My kids play softball and we're about to start the season. So it's time to get the new custom softball songs created for their team. You can
So
put
fun.
in like all the little nicknames and the name of the team, and then it will create a song just
Oh
for
my
them.
gosh, that's great.
So Suno is a big one. I use Gemini for trip planning and for
Uh-huh.
shopping. I think because Gemini is powered by Google, it's great at
Mhm.
finding deals and it's great at with the maps behind it. I find that to be so
Oh, that's
useful and
great. Yeah.
excellent. So those are three, like Claude, my main tool, my main AI assistant, Gemini for some very specific things like saving money or going on a trip, and Suno AI just for having fun.
Amazing. Well, I could sit and talk forever because this topic like truly fascinates me. But we are going to head over to YouTube and have a conversation for step family coaches. So if you are a coach, even if you're not, head over there for our discussion around that. And with that, Sarah, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at aiempoweredmom.com. It's my website. And from there, you can get links to my social media, which is at AI Empowered Mom on Instagram. My weekly podcast is available on my website, and you can sign up for my weekly newsletter every Sunday night. I send 3 prompts and a couple of AI resources, some handpicked news for families, and a little bit of AI fun and magic to parents and caregivers all over the world. So you can sign up for my newsletter on aiempoweredmom.com.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. I think these tools are so valuable. And so, guys, I hope you will go and follow Sarah and stay in touch with her as all of this, because it's just going to be continuing to change so quickly. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thanks to you.